big problem. We get to see things from Tahi's perspective for a second there as he manages to find himself some endgame points, but Scented and Cold, man, hats off to them. Coming into endgame with 2 eliminations, which was already impressive enough. They managed to pull a second place in game 1 with near 10 eliminations as a duo. Here's Smite and Larson. They didn't get that time in the shine there at the end, but it's okay because Cam and Bucky managed to give us all the limelight we needed there. 6 eliminations in a victory royale. Well deserved for the well-executed high ground retake there.
Yeah, it was very well played, and incredibly impressed with Cold and his ability to end up finding the eliminations that they needed to put him up on the board. Unfortunately, not able to find just the closeout one, the 100 shot, but then the fact that he got dropped down and both team battling with next to no materials, and unfortunately closed it out, but I think they might end up being first place on the back of the elims.
Those elims are going to start to add up there, guys. The difference between finding elims versus that last little squeeze on placement points is a pretty big margin. I would go the elim route, especially under this format, but that was just the game number 1 to kick things off. We're going to toss it on over to the desk because the boys definitely have a breakdown for us.
Boy, don't we. Cam and Bucky there with, I think, 7 eliminations and the victory royale to kick things off here. Fellas, we saw a lot of the teams, actually, the predictions as well. So close, SPG, so close. Cold and Scented there. We saw Illis there with 6 eliminations. Lots of players managing to clutch up. Miro surviving so long as well without Booga by his side there, just weaving around.
Yeah.
Like a little whistle around the different boxes. Talk us through here, though, Vivid. I mean, what a great first game it was. And we saw a lot there, as we said, from Cold and Scented, who really kind of set a precedent here as well.
Yeah, a lot to talk about throughout this game. One of the highlights, though, for me was this Illis clutch up here. Left in a 1v2 situation, picks up both of those eliminations. But, I mean, listen, this is classic Scented, right? Where he always gets second place in these games because he plays that low ground. But then you have Bucky and Cam come up with a win, but then you kind of feel like you're just entitled to talk about Scented and Cold because they played so well. Even though they could pick up the second place, to get there, it was just astronomically insane. Like, we talked about the aggression earlier that Scented has implemented into his gameplay here. MDF mentioned it. They came into the end game with 2 eliminations. That alone is impressive. But then through the end game, they're still aggressive.
Yeah, they're just clearing out their layers. If you go to a low ground, you're gonna have to fight for it. They're simply saying, this is our space. They're claiming, like, people claim drop spots. They're claiming all of low ground for the entirety of late game and saying, all right, we're the best 2 fighters on the region. Come see us. This is our low ground. And they just absolutely slayed out. I mean, Cold was popping 7 elims, and man, if he comes and swings this pump right here, that would have been incredible. I would have loved to see that, but hey, yeah. Shouts out Cam and Bucky because that was a great clutch by them to secure the dub in game 1.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I guess the big question is, can they keep up appearances and do that again and again and again? It might happen. We'll have to wait and see. But you can see a lot of teams there we've predicted and talked about as well already starting to make their way up that leaderboard. I think we have the standings for you right now, how things are currently looking after game 1. And it is looking pretty for Cold and Scented. They're sat on the top spot, 28 placement points, 9 eliminations, 55 to kick things off, Vivid. That is looking awesome.
Yeah, those elims playing a big role in how they get up to that first place spot. Not getting the victory royale, but still in that first place position.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of teams getting, 4, 5, 6 eliminations here. It's about that consistency. You're setting the tone in this first match. Now, can anyone else continue to do it throughout the rest of the day?
Indeed. I mean, we can see here as well. I mean, Commandment and Stretch, my pick, had got into 8th position there as well. They've just crept in there, but Slacks is coming through. Lots of big players as well, really making their way through. It is time, though, to get back into all the action. Wow. Game 2 is ready to rock and roll. We ain't holding around here. We're diving straight back in. It's Battle Bus time. I think it's Battle Bus time. I think I'm waiting for the beep. When the beep comes through, then we can jump into proceedings. But I mean, obviously, we've talked about the map. We've talked about different rotations. There's the beep. The beep is playing around with me. It's messing with me. Stop it, beep. Stop it right now. Let's dive into game 2. It is ready to rock and roll. We'll talk more about the map after this. Here we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it. The battle bus is on the way. Little moment of intensity here as we start flying through the map. Players start deciding where they went wrong in the last game and how they can improve their position coming into game number 2. Arguably the most important game here, Sundown, because now you've kind of had a feel for the air, and now we get to get the real taste of what's going to go down here in game 2.
And immediately eyes on the top right-hand part of the screen as Degen and Iamzo have actually opted to go straight into Covert Cavern, not going over towards the Llama off the start. So a little bit of a swap in the game plan. We saw that they kind of took that 50-50 off of the Rit last game, and it didn't necessarily go so well, but Iamzo also took some damage coming through, and he's getting shot here, and there's another Llama right nearby, Monster.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the decision really came out to be, well, do we fight for that one or take this free one right here? I mean, that's really what they want, right? It's a llama, and they get one. So I guess Lady Luck kind of plays in their favor this time around. They get to have not only a solid backup, but exactly what they came to this drop spot for. All the loot, all the heals, and now they're off to a good start. So here's the real question. Do they have grudge against the opponents, Knifer and crew over at the house nearby? That cabin, that shack, or will they just kind of take this as a small W and play the game out? We'll find out soon.
So now we're going to swing on over, as you requested, Monster. Phase Mega, phase Dubs.
Yes.
Just a little bit north of Shifty Shafts, and you can see kind of what their game plan is here. Kind of land on the higher part of the map, use the innate verticality and the fact that you touch down on the ground much faster than people actually go all the way over to the main POI. And if you grab one of those MK7s, it's free Storm Surge tags. You can see Dubs has already taken a little bit of damage, but the fact there is so much heals and utility, and you drop, that is such a good drop, Monster.
Yeah, that's the perfect case situation right here. You was just talking about the strength of having that little bit of high ground for the tags, and then you drop this right here. This is perfect. And you're kind of seeing the strength of this drop spot. You're seeing the strengths of a lot of our major POI drop spots. These are locations that are big enough to house multiple duos, right, and get comfortable loot. Like, this is what I would call a very comfortable loadout, even without the legendary pickup there. So now that teams get comfy, they get to fight on their own terms, right? And the last time we saw Mega and Dubs have 3 elims in the mid game, so I'm assuming they're playing pretty aggressive here at the drop.
I think it probably depends on what damage they're able to get right off of the start, and I think that is playing adaptive as a duo is one of the most important things. I think at trios you can kind of game plan it out a little bit more because the map's a little bit more solved and there's less fluidity over what people are looting and where they're going. In duos, if you're able to rip somebody with a couple of tags, you can press a 2v1 advantage and make somebody pay, particularly early on, and you can already see just that. There's so many shields on Sent, and he wants to just try and make sure he min-maxes and uses the exact right amount, as I'm sure many of you do, whether it's in your arena, your casual games, your early tournament round games, or even the FNCS final games if somebody who was knocked out early is now tuning in. You want to make sure you kind of hit all of those min-maxes and pop those little minis, and we're going to swing on over as SU and Lone Star Drew are in yet another fight off of the start, this time just a little bit over on the east side of the Sanctuary on those isolated islands.
Yeah, it's a very interesting place to fight. You don't really expect anyone to come on in third party